Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal International. I'm called Morinzi. Our top stories. Six children from the same family have been burned to dirt in the Brazzaville neighborhood in Douala. The children were asleep when their room caught fire in the absence of their mother. And the mayor of Lagdol in the north region of Cameroon is under pressure to justify administrative accounts in spite of apologies he presented to his councilors during a council session. And suspected separatist fighters are reported to have burned down some buildings of government school Maiwan in Limbe in the southwest region of Cameroon. Those were major stories. The details right ahead. Six children of the same mother have died after they were roasted in their sleep. The sad incident occurred at the Brazzaville neighborhood in Cameroon's economic city Douala after the fire broke out in their bedroom in the absence of their mother. All attempts to quench the fire were futile. The entire neighborhood is in total desolation. As we hear the following story with Regina Leketandak.
It was in this bedroom that six children of the same mother were burned in their sleep at the Quartier Brazzaville in Douala. Amongst the victims, two sets of twins and two others with their ages ranging from 3 to 15 years old. What has left the people of Brazzaville and its environs in total desolation. According to reports, the mother of the deceased children, popularly known as Mani, is a petite trader who usually sells and returns home late. She reportedly locked the children indoors before the fire broke out at about 1 p.m. on Tuesday, breaking Wednesday morning. At about 1 a.m., I heard in my sleep one of the children screaming my name, shouting, "Tonton Ivan, there is a fire." When I woke up, I saw the house was being consumed by flames. The exact cause of the fire has not yet been established, but the neighborhood was said to be experiencing a blackout, with a possibility of a candlelight being the origin of the fire. One of the immediate neighbors of the burnt plank apartment has been accused of indifference as she failed to help the children who screamed for help on grounds she's not on talking terms with the mother of the children. I only arrived at about 6 a.m. this morning and found the entire compound burnt. There is a lady, the neighbor of the victims, who is not talking with her neighbor. She claims she didn't hear when the children cried for help. Allegations the said lady has denied. The mother of the six children, on getting the news, went unconscious and is currently under intensive care at a hospital in Douala. Meantime, the charred remains of the six children have been deposited at a mortuary.
And we take you to Limbe in the southwest region of Cameroon, where suspected separatist fighters are reported to have burned down some buildings of government school Maiwan in Limbe. The incident occurred this morning, as you hear in this story with Ines Ondwambala.
Members of the educational community in Limbe are still in shock after suspected separatist fighters stormed government primary school Maiwan Group 2 early Wednesday morning and set the school ablaze. This is what is left of government primary school Maiwan Group 2 in Limbe. Barely few days for classes to kickstart, nearly all classrooms were ransacked by unidentified gunmen who equally burned down buildings of this school. This act is reported carried out on basis that the educational community do not abide to school boycott imposed by separatist groups.
At about 25 minutes past 5, we received an alert from a bike rider who came to our base at Mile 2 this morning telling us that there's a government school at Mile 1 on fire. So immediately my boys just dressed up and we arrived at the scene. In less than 1 minute, we were already here. We started intervening. Though the doors were padlocked, but we intervened on time, even though we realized that the information reached us late.
No, this tire, we got it from the other building, the second building where they had to burn. So this tire was placed there, and we just believed they had to put fire on it because this one was already on. We are those who removed it, and it's on that.
It is thanks to the intervention of the local population and the firefighting brigades unit of the Limbe city that the fire was quenched despite enormous damages caused.
The mayor of Lagdol in the north region of Cameroon has been coerced to present the right administrative accounts of his council, which it is said is not corresponding. A majority of the councillors voted against the budget and administrative accounts in spite of apologies from the mayor at the start of the session. The details with Gladys Ambu Tiba.
To calm down the existing tension between the mayor of Lagdol in the north region of Cameroon and his councillors, since June 18, this 2021, Mayor Luke Gaga was obliged to plead for mercy in this session that took place August 23, 2021. They unanimously rejected the holding of that session that was devoted to the adoption of the budgetary and management accounts. I am using this opportunity to ask for forgiveness to all those who felt frustrated or belittled by my actions. However, I remain human, capable of committing errors. I therefore crave the indulgence of the councillors for a perfect collaboration between us. These words of apology obviously had no effect on 25 councillors who still voted against the adoption of the accounts. Just 10 were in his favour, and that was not enough for the adoption of the council's budgetary and management accounts. We want the mayor to change. There are several activities which he manages just with the Secretary General. After going through the documents, we noted the figures did not colorate. We want someone who collaborates, who has compassion for the population and not working only for his personal interest. The divisional delegates for decentralization and local development for the Benue division recalled provisions of Article 470 of the General Code of Decentralized Territorial Communities, which stipulates that the councillors who voted against have 72 hours to submit a request to the senior divisional officer for the Benue division.
And the bag of 20 packets of cannabis has been seized by custom officials in the southwest region of Cameroon. The marijuana was intercepted in a transport bus in Mudika and route to Douala. Ines Ondwambala has the rest of the story.
It is at the Mundeka checkpoint in Tiko subdivision of the southwest region that this important stock of marijuana was seized. Elements of the Limbe Custom Mobile Brigade during a routine control intercepted the marijuana. The proprietor of the marijuana was on board a public transport bus traveling from Limbe to Douala. He was immediately arrested and taken to the Tiko State Council and later on handed to the Tiko Gendarmerie Brigade, where he is presently gnashing his teeth.
Some 2,300 candidates have begun sitting for the examination of certification of health personnel all over the national territory. The competence examination will permit the recruitment of 1,200 qualified health personnel of different domains. More on that story with our intern or with our student journalist from Yaoundé.
All seated with a spirit of seriousness and determination, these trained medical officials ready to give their all to succeed, writing the competitive examination of certification of medical personnel in its second day this Wednesday, all over the national territory. They are vying in 13 different domains, among which nursing, ophthalmology, physiotherapy, and others. This entrance examination is meant at recruiting 2,200 medical personnel. After 3 years of studies, they are confident they will succeed.
Everything is going on well. We've been preparing for 3 years. I'm really very confident. My main aim even is to be between the first people to be in the rank. So I hope that with the help of God, I can be the first.
The last session of these competitive exams was cancelled last July 2021 due to fraud. But this time around, all the dispositions are in place for a hitch-free exams.
The first one was the reform of the unique center in different regions. Also put some reform in place concerning the securitization of the marks. Also, we put some innovation concerning the way of evaluating the candidates.
Confidence in high esteem, and this will be confirmed only when the results are made public and see themselves recruited into public service.
September 6 was considered until yesterday as official resumption date for the 2021-2022 academic year. Birds, the Secretary General at the Ministry of Secondary Education, during his passage on public television, expressed doubts. Despite the doubts, the principals of some schools remain focused on preparations on back to school. More in the following story.
It was September the 6th on every lips as school resumption dates for the 2021-2022 academic year until last night when the Secretary General at the Ministry of Secondary Education on a public television said the date is yet to be fixed by country's top authorities. Despite the uncertainty around school resumption dates, registration and preparation in schools for nearby school year remains in full gear.
Preparations, registration is going on, admission is going on, and we have put also the sensitizer equipment to effectively make sure that we don't have any effect in the school. Well, generally, we are prepared. The teachers are ready, the timetable has been drawn, scheme of work submitted by teachers, their program has been taken, and they are well ready to begin on Monday effectively.
School authorities say their eyes and ears are widely opened, waiting for the ministries of basic and secondary education to clear the confusions in the minds of teachers and parents.
Until the ministry confirms it, it remains a rumor. So since the ministry gave us the seat, we are for the seat. If there are any changes, the ministry will do the changes. So we shouldn't base ourselves on rumors except we have official backings.
While waiting the doubts to be cleared, the Form 5 and upper seat students of the Anglophone subsystem in some schools visited have already started classes. A strategy school officials explain is aimed towards ensuring good results.
Anglo-Saxon system of education is a little bit complicated. Why do I say so? 80% of our students are from the French-speaking background. So the school decided, it's a program by the school, they decided to start earlier so that the student can perform better.
Meantime, the classrooms in most schools within the capital cities are ready to welcome the learners when.
After being blocked for several hours along the Bamenda-Buda stretch of road, the president of the National Communication Council has finally held a walk-in session with pressmen in Bamenda. He encouraged and urged them not to give up, as we hear in this story with Regina Leke-Tandak.
After waiting for 4 hours, journalists in Bamenda finally started a meeting with a visiting delegation of the National Communication Council at about 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday. The visitors had been trapped in the early morning heavy gunfire at Akum village along the Bamenda-Buda stretch of road that gave them an idea of what media practitioners in the Northwest region go through on a daily basis since the present socio-political crisis broke out. According to the president of the government-appointed media regulatory body, such incidents should not dampen the spirit of the journalists.
Because of the political unrest, many of them are operating under very difficult conditions, because many of them were not trained as professionals to cover unrest like what we have in the Northwest today. And for that reason, many of them have either erred or found themselves in problems. And I think that they are not doing badly.
In a face-to-face exchange with the over 30 practicing and student journalists, the need to investigate and report the truth was put on the table.
The incident in Bali, I was unable to get, I've not seen in the Northwest a journalist that presented the facts the way you can discern and understand that it was well verified and investigated. You see somebody saying that Amber went into the church and shot the woman. Somebody saying that the military went to the church and shot a person, which is...
That should, however, not be at the risk and peril of members of the unrecognized fourth estate, as even the Bible says, man shall not live by bread alone. With the advent of the new information superhighway, some journalists wore long faces when the high table revealed that news blogging is not recognized, so bloggers should get together into a cartel so as to be approved.
Conflict prevention is one of the most important but most difficult challenges of recent times. This can also be addressed if hate speech is eradicated at all levels in Cameroon, an objective embraced by Cameroon Association of Media Professionals CAM. The journalists gathered over the weekend to see how they could properly address hate speech in Cameroon. The details in the following story.
The Journalism Ethics Charter calls on journalists to refrain from promoting any form of violence, terrorism, crime, intolerance, racism, or gender discrimination. But the media, expected to be used as a peace platform, is rather used to propagate hate speech, thus fostering extreme activities of violence, retards good governance, and sustainable community development.
Often on radio stations and TV stations where we got discriminatory statements against a particular group of people in the country or an ethnic group, which is a hate speech. And somebody says it and goes free.
You see politicians and other actors propagating hate speech on different media platforms. The only person you have to blame is that media organ. And from all indications, it seems as if there are some media organs who have as editorial policy to denigrate other ethnic groups in this country.
What we so-called hate speech is mainly in what we can consider as social media. Many journalists don't respect the different rules that govern the practice of journalism. And while behaving like this, sometimes it can happen that they use a jargon that can be considered hate speech.
Some of these jargons cause low self-esteem, poor working relationships at the workplace, and incite violence.
Got on radio, somebody saying le basala, and somebody already says that it's discriminatory.
What then needs to be done to put an end to such denigrating and discriminatory words?
Our laws need to be revamped, need to be awakened, need to be given full authority to sanction, such that we should not have what we can't talk about national cohesion when every day on our radio, on our television, on newspapers, some ethnic groups are being lynched as if they do not exist.
Educate citizens about the media, to educate Cameroonians that there is a difference between social medias and medias, to educate them about the roles of the media, about what the role played by medias in a society.
To promote peace and social cohesion, therefore, there is need for collective efforts to put an end to hate speech that only provokes social, political, and cultural crises.
And that report brings us to the end of this edition of Newscast on Canal de International. Thanks so much for watching, but don't go away for have the news coming up in the French language at exactly at 7:50. This never a senkan or alengis lenkanga. So me, I'll be back tomorrow for another edition.